Welcome back to another episode of The Opposition, brought to you by Rebel News Australia and The Real Rukshan. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good today, mate. Good, another episode.
This
should be interesting, this one.
This one?
You got to tell the guest what it's about?
Tell him about what it's about.
No.
We don't want him to know what it's about. Today we've got Leon. Leon, how do I pronounce your surname? You got one of the
trouble pronouncing it myself. Kofmansky.
Kofmansky. Now, the reason we chose Leon, because we were discussing who to bring on for this specific episode. Did we tell him yet what we're actually doing?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Neither the token Jewish guy on the show.
Yeah. So we did discuss that.
Reader.
Actually, I'm with two Jewish men. I can say, token Jewish guy.
No, because
I'm comfortable saying
Rukshan said, I don't think you're Jewish enough for this. We need somebody that looks the part, plays the part. No, someone that looks the part, doesn't just play the part.
Yeah.
No, but today we're going to go and do a reaction of the last video we did. And I think it is good to have another Jewish perspective, a different Jewish perspective.
Oh, look, definitely. I mean, it's really pertinent to the Jewish community, what's happening in Melbourne right now surrounding this. So I definitely think it's important to hear from Jewish voices on this.
Because anti-Semitism is real. You can pretend like it isn't. Sometimes our community, I feel like they cry wolf too much when it's not important, but then at other times they're kind of quiet. It seems like one group of Jew hatred is easy to call out, and we saw that with the politicians since the reaction of this video. Easy to call out the Nazis because absolutely nobody likes Nazis. That's everybody knows that. But then the anti-Semitism on the other side is never called out.
Isn't that interesting? And I need to, one thing I want to say, there's a small group within the Jewish community that are self-appointed, that are self-appointed leaders. They don't represent the majority of the Jews. So these people that are crying wolf do not represent us at all, and they're self-serving and do it for their own political interests. And you're right, there is on the other side an anti-Semitism that exists on the left that has been very dominant, very problematic for the wider Jewish community, and it hasn't been acknowledged by the establishment, and they're only looking at the other side, which is also problematic, by the way. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd
watching the
also
video.
love to just also hear your thoughts on this phenomena where we're seeing, even someone that looks like me being called a Nazi.
That's mind-boggling.
Yeah,
Every
so, I mean,
time.
Yeah, we definitely.
It's happened
I
to
think
you
we
a
need to get
number
to
of
that as well
times.
because it's happening a lot.
And again, it's those same groups that are not getting condemned. And it's a good point Leon makes is about those certain Jews that it's actually their job. They've monetized waking up every morning to be offended and looking for anti-Semitism. They're looking like sometimes I literally believe these organizations spray swastikas on buildings just because they always seem to be the first at the scene, and they're doing a big shot, and it's a front cover of the Herald Sun. Oh my God, there's a swastika. Swastika is a pretty evil symbol. We can agree on that, but there's some actual real bad anti-Semitism that they ignore because it's not politically popular.
Spot on.
So we're going to get into the video. We're going to watch the Antifa and Nazis on the streets protesting.
Two sides of the same coin.
There you go. So you've obviously watched it, but now we're going to watch it back and react. We've got some sound. There we go.
Yeah.
So warning.
What are you doing, Daniel?
I've asked you nicely. Stay back.
This is a bit of the cold opening to get you a bit excited to watch Daniel's.
Very intimidating guy. I don't understand how they can get close to him.
Anti-Nazis have attacked the only Jew in the crowd.
I do enjoy the fact that I can play that cover.
You're so brave covering your face there.
No, is that me? I press. Hold on, we want to get to the actual.
Why are you so brave?
All right. Avi Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia, where a group of about 20 to 30 neo-Nazis are gathering for what they have planned an anti-immigration protest. But here today, a counter-rally of so-called anti-fascists have gathered in the hundreds. We're here today to speak to both sides. One has been widely condemned, the other not so much. Let's see how it plays out. This is the first time I'm coming to a protest where both sides hate me equally. I'm excited.
I don't hate you, Avi.
You don't?
I don't.
Oh,
These
you don't?
guys do.
These guys. All right, so let's talk to the ones that hate me. You're standing against the Nazis today?
You are too, right?
Is that exciting? That the first time in your activism, you get to stand against.
Are you here with us against the Nazis?
I'm here to do my job. I'm here to cover both sides.
You love that. As a Jewish person.
Are you here to stand with us against the Nazis?
I mean, I thought that was a default position.
That you're there to stand against the Nazis?
I mean, that's a default position in society.
Yeah, it is.
Why does it need to be clarified?
Do you, I'm known as a Jew, but you look like a Jew.
I'm easily identifiable, exactly.
Now, from your, I guess, personal experience, what do they like to call it? Personal lived experience. Yes. Do most people hate Nazis?
Yes, I mean, it's popular within popular culture. It's very much ingrained. Ever since the Nazis lost the Second World War, it's become a popular thing. Whereas, one thing I noticed about the neo-Nazis in that clip, they were on their best behavior. And the reason is, I mean, they are prone to violence, but the reason is they know that they're being scrutinized. Whereas on the other side, these guys are really violent. And the reason is because society's given them a blank check to be violent. The government, the establishment of society.
Speak a little closer. I know you're not as used to me and, more me. Rukshan, this is his first time. He had to build a studio to get popular. But, you just got to talk nice and close to the mic. But that is actually a really good point.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, generally, the behavior that we're seeing, this is the second time I've seen this behavior because I was actually at the women's rights rally as well, where these, so-called neo-Nazis first gate crashed. And even then, what they're doing might look offensive, the symbolism or the gestures, but the actual behavior, it's like they're on their best behavior that day. So the police are in a difficult position as well. But the other side, when you compare it to these people who we know are bad people with bad thoughts and so forth, when you compare the two, the other side looks, crazy. And like you said, they've been given a blank check. By society.
I didn't think of it that way, and that actually, I was trying to work out why is it, and you actually you've pointed it out that in a way that makes sense. That makes total sense. Is that they know they have to behave, and how bad do you have to be to make Nazis look good? And that's what they managed to do. We'll keep watching anyways.
As a Jewish person, you see white people congregating in mass. You see white people being explicitly self-interested in their preservation as
It's amazing how he just makes assumptions.
Assumes
what I
existence.
Why are you assuming what I feel? Like, I'm just looking at him, he looks like Antifa. Why does
I'm a
he look
very
like
simple
Antifa?
guy. I'm just
Why are
looking
you
how
trying
you
to be
look.
like him?
I mean, he
The
must be
reason why he
psychic. He
dresses-
knows exactly what
Look
Jews
at
think.
Look how they look.
Yeah, they look identical.
They look the same.
No difference.
Would you spot a difference in that?
It's by design. These two groups are two sides of the same coin. And this is not something that happened overnight. This is, if you look at history, fascism came out of communism. Mussolini was a communist and he transitioned to fascism. He founded fascism, and it was a very easy transition. You look at all the Nazis, all the leading Nazis, a lot of them were former communists. It was a very easy transition for them. And there's a reason why Nazi is an acronym for National Socialism, emphasis on the socialist part. There are some minor differences. Fascism is like a fusion between corporate interests and government interests, whereas communism is just where the state takes over everything. However, for the average person on the street, there's really not much of a practical difference, because what it means is this total control, totalitarianism. This is what both of these groups actually want. You lose your freedom. There's no civil liberties and there's no upward mobility. Everyone, total top-down control and micromanagement of people's lives. And these are what both of these sides are advocating for.
Absolutely. But I guess when you argue it with Antifa, they'll say, oh, look at history. There was Antifa back, fighting actual Nazis.
The anti-fascist, that's how they say
Originally, and, through World War II, where they were, I don't know if they had any communist links back then, did they? They may have. They were workers. They were probably connected to the workers.
There is an element of truth to it. There were street fights, but also what they like to conveniently ignore and forget is that the Nazis and the Soviet Union were actually allies. So when Hitler invaded Poland, what's commonly forgotten, swept under the rug, is that it was a joint invasion. Hitler invaded Poland from the west, and the Soviets invaded from the east. And the reason why the Soviet Union and the Nazis went to war with each other 2 years later was because Hitler betrayed Stalin. That was the only reason.
No, makes sense.
I didn't know we got a historian. I thought we just got a token Jew.
I'm a bit intimidated.
I'm actually scared to go. I'm just going to press play.
Sorry.
It better be.
But it's going to trigger a lot of leftists.
We're going to get fact checked.
Entities. We could have made it grey.
That's what they do. That's what they say they do.
If you eat some custard, it might help you grow.
It certainly worked for you, didn't it?
He's a big boy. Quick thinking.
I just want to make a point. Listen, I don't usually fat shame.
Yeah.
But these guys, this group that go on about healthy body, whatever it is, what do they go on about? Not fat shaming, but all. Their first thing they jump to is my height.
Yeah.
An interesting point. This week they're talking about in WA proposed legislation to make it illegal. I think in a workplace, the WA government wants to make it illegal to fat shame and height shame.
Yeah.
What are they going to do if I
use that to your advantage?
What are they going to do? What are the left going to do when I rock up to a protest?
You get them arrested.
But the truth is, they have no shame when it comes to these kind of protests. They will use every derogatory term in the book because they see you or whoever they see as their enemy. It's justified. Any such behavior, any such derogatory language is on. And obviously that's also problematic. And it's crazy to me that they can't actually see that this is actually a part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
Well, look
They-
at your situation, Rukshan. The ridiculous situation where multiple times you've been called a Nazi and a white supremacist.
Yeah, look, I'll be upfront about it. It's really interesting for me because for me, I have the understanding of the history of World War and all that from the Western perspective of growing up in the West. But I want to make it very clear, and this is not to downplay the role of Nazis and all this kind of stuff with what happened in Europe. But in Sri Lanka and in South Asia, the people that came to our countries back in the day during colonialism weren't German. They were British, they were Anglo. And I don't go
Portuguese
around
too.
Portuguese, the Dutch. So all these different nationalities that came and colonized our country, and all sorts of conflicts and all sorts of people claim genocide and all sorts of things. So the people that did that to my people look like these people who are today calling me a Nazi, but I don't have that same animosity towards them to label them as such for these historical things. I see the problem as the people who are these neo-Nazis, behaving in this manner, and I see it for what it is. The fact that these people can't see it for what it is, and they will use these terms against someone like me, when in fact I could turn it around and say, like, actually, no, it's not the Nazis that attacked my people. It's people that look like you. But we don't do that in our society. We can see the difference and we can tell between good and bad. And I think that's where these people are blurring the lines. Because even though I don't have that personal connection to what happened in Europe, I still know what the Nazis did and what happened to the Jewish community, especially. I know that it is bad without having to have lived that experience. And it's obviously there's a group of people that don't care about.
They minimize. It loses all meaning when you have no shame on a day that you're protesting actual people that love the Nazi ideology, people who proudly say, and then you take a Jew and you take a black man or a Sri Lankan. What do you identify as?
Identify as Australian.
A white woman. So and then you call them Nazis and don't see what's problematic about that. And then our own community, those leaders that you were talking about, they don't actually go out there and condemn the use of that term in such a fashion, in a derogatory way, to shut down what we're saying here. Is just literally they go, are you here to stand with us? Or no, I'm here to do my job. I'm here to talk to both sides.
There's not always us and them mentality all the time. Like, that's what I said all the time. I mentioned like the condemnation of that Nazi ideology is everyone has that. It's generic to the population. Like we all know that it's bad. The fact that I have always these, particularly white people, telling me that I'm a Nazi, I find it really offensive, and I find it really weird as well. That's the charge that they put against people, like that have nothing to do with some of it. Sometimes, like it's just crazy.
These people are brainwashed by design. They're brainwashed by the university system. This is where they get all this garbage from, and they've got this, like you said, they've got this black and white view of the world. If you're not with us, you're against us, and you're automatically a Nazi. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or black or it doesn't matter.
And it's funny because I walk in there, I go, that was the first protest I've ever been to where both sides hated me equally. I've done protests where like neither side had any like I didn't really know about either side. I've been to plenty of protests where I'm loved. I've been plenty of protests where I'm hated.
Yeah.
But this was one where I was equally hated by both sides. One side because they said that I was the other side, and the other side was because I am the thing that they say they hate.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's keep going. This is my old mate.
You're an Avi. All right.
This guy has a crush on me. You've seen him at a lot of things. Yeah. He carries a chopping board in his bag.
It's a bit weird.
He's he's obsessed with me. This guy. He's like always behind me, Antifa, and this was the first time that he actually walked up and talked to me.
Yeah, you could see he was shaking a bit. He had a bit of he seemed a bit starstruck.
Very exciting. Excited.
Oh, starstruck.
He got you.
I think he dreams about me.
You went around asking people at the BLM rally, what about this white woman who was murdered in America?
Justine Damon is her name.
Damon.
I just want to show my
now
name.
name 3 First Nations people who died in custody in Australia.
He's conflating two
the one
different
that's
issues.
Yeah.
That not related to each other.
What was the point of that whole video? Do you remember that video?
Yeah, I mean, he's been holding on. That protest was a long time ago.
That was 2020.
He's been holding on to that for a long time. That guy.
That gotcha. It took him 3 years to hit the gotcha. Do you know that video?
I vaguely remember.
So what
from
it was
3 years ago.
Yeah, it was a.
I remember you had that with Damon
Justine Damon. So there's a Black Lives Matter rally where after George Floyd was killed, they were rallying for George Floyd, and I just went there with the one question: do you know Justine Damon? Because George Floyd was an African American criminal who, whatever, you can argue the circumstances in which he died, but Justine Damon was a white Aussie woman killed by the exact same police force. The only difference is she was white, he was black.
Yeah.
Her killer was black. His one was white. But in her case, there was nothing.
No outrage.
No, but there was also no circumstances surrounding the incident that maybe she was guilty of anything.
Yeah.
She was completely innocent.
Yeah.
She was a witness to a crime that called the police, and she was murdered. She was killed.
It only made headline news in Australia because she was an Australian.
But there was no outrage.
It made the local news in the I think she was from Minnesota.
She's
in the local news there, but it didn't make headline national news.
And even worse, there was no protest for it. And the thing is, at the end of everything, George Floyd's killers were found guilty and they're being put away. Her killer,
He got out, right?
he got off it. Like he got put away and then he got out.
Yeah, for like 1 year, 1 or 2 years.
No, but I think they withdrew. I can't remember the end of the circumstance, but he got out at the end. If it was the other way around, there would be national outrage. Anyways, we've gone off topic. The point is, what does Ming knowing?
But it wasn't just outrage. They were destroying entire cities.
Yeah.
They were burning things down.
But what do you think they're conflating these issues?
The point here is it's taken him 3 years to do that gotcha moment about something that he I think he missed the point of the video. The point was that you're here to protest something about that, and you don't even know this. Now he's trying to say, you see, but you don't even know three. I couldn't name 3 people that have been killed in custody in Australia.
I think that's ironic though, because you went to Alice Springs. You spent time in Alice Springs. You were there.
None of them have.
Exactly. I mean, the Indigenous First Nations people who live in Alice Springs live in appalling third world conditions, and none of these virtue signaling people in Melbourne or Sydney barely bat an eyelid for them.
No. Oh, they don't matter, Alice. Anyways, we'll keep going. Oh.
You see the hypocrisy in that?
But you've named a white Australian woman who died in the USA.
On the same police force that they were marching for an African-American criminal. That was the point. Why have you got a mask on?
Because of COVID.
Because he's got crumb all over his beard.
And you're wearing a helmet just in case the COVID gets you and you collapse
Safety
and you're
first.
safe.
Yeah.
You are Antifa. That's what the conclusion
We are fascists. We're not anti-fascists. We're authoritarian.
They're also fascists. They're not anti-fascists
They are
either.
anti-fascists. They want to destroy white. Fascism to them is white people.
Are you
Like,
excited to
I just
finally
like
have no-
that wasn't really. I didn't pick it up at the time. Sometimes they're like, you got to think on your feet. But isn't that funny? He goes, they're fascist. They're anti-fascist. We are fascists. He's owning it. We are fascists. They are against us.
Yes.
And I'm like, but actually, no, they are fascists. For if you look at the meaning, the definition of fascism, they act like fascists in every single way. And then he goes and gives his explanation of what fascism, a different definition. They hate white people. Well, that's not fascism. That's not what fascism means. If you look up the definition of fascism, it's not hates white people.
Yeah. I mean, do you think then that these two groups, they're totally removed from the reality of all these issues, and really it's about us versus them?
They need each other. That's what
Of
it
course,
is.
they thrive on each other.
Well, we're only everybody's only talking about it because each other exists. Let's say that the Nazis rocked up to Parliament that day and the anti-fascists didn't rock up, and nobody cared and nobody went there. So it would be a bunch of like weird looking dudes dressed in black shorts,
Pretty much.
marching and doing like stupid symbols, and nobody gave them attention. But since they had the anti-fascists there protesting them, then suddenly there's all this interest because there's conflict now, and you've got all the cameras there, and even we're there because suddenly now this is a story, and so it goes the other way as well. The anti-fascists, the whole Antifa will run protests. Nobody cares about their protests when they're alone, but when you suddenly have the other side there, it becomes a spectacle.
They feed off each other.
Yeah.
They need each other.
Well, it's all portrayed as reclaiming the steps or reclaiming the parliament and all this kind of nonsense, right? So it feeds each other. Like it's a cycle. Like how does that stop? And it's just escalating more and more because they're just going at it.
Look at this. Look.
By the way, none of this radicalism existed prior to Daniel Andrews. I think Daniel Andrews is responsible for creating this radicalism with his own radical policies. I think he's really divided society with his policies, and that's radicalized people on both the left and the right.
Yeah,
I think it certainly has. There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Things have gotten far. I don't know if it's Daniel Andrews because you see it around the world as well.
Yeah.
But Daniel Andrews certainly feeds to it. He leads the culture war from the left.
But just to add to this, the opposite perspective that's painted in all of this is saying that, during the pandemic and the lockdowns and all this stuff, people were also radicalized to the other side, to the far right. That's the argument that other people make. That's why these other groups have come out so much into the.
You mean Daniel Andrews' lockdowns?
Daniel Andrews
gave people so you've basically made his point in another way.
I mean, look. Ultimately, it does seem to go back to how our government's handling this because we're not really seeing this in New South Wales, in Queensland, to the extent that we're seeing
Victoria
it here.
Stands out.
And it really seems like Antifa itself, forget the neo-Nazis for 1 second, the Antifa itself, they really have a presence here in Victoria.
Yep, but they always have. That. They have for many years.
Presence, I feel like the presence is very much intermingled with government of the day. In terms of their views.
Yeah.
Because we had these guys, these same Antifa group, KOFY and all this kind of people protesting in support of vaccine mandate.
They were
right?
It was the same organisation, Campaign Against Racism, Fascism.
Same
group.
All
over Caulfield.
Yeah.
If you're an anti-vaxxer, you're a fascist.
Yeah. So like how does it, how does
the irony of that, putting it in the Jewish...
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does I can't square up their support for these pharmaceutical companies.
That's corporate fascism. That's what they're supporting. Corporate fascism. Such a thing was unheard of 10, 20 years ago. The left was very much against corporatism. Now it's...
Well, the left was traditionally also the anti-vaxxers. They would...
Exactly.
It was the left was much more... the anti-vaccine society were generally left-leaning. But we've gone off track. I think that they found... It probably goes back to what Leon was saying in the beginning, how they've been given that blank check. I think they've been given it for a reason. And I think it's because they play their part in supporting the establishment. And so the establishment rewards them with silence for their bad behavior.
Antifa is actually known as the unofficial paramilitary organization for the Democrat Party in the United States. So I would make the assumption it's probably not much different in this situation.
I think that
it's just an assumption.
I think that they're I think they're very similar here to what they are in the States. And I don't know. I think it depends. Like the Democratic Party is quite broad as well. Like you have the very left, the far left of the Democratic Party, which
AOC.
AOC, and they would consider themselves part of Antifa. So they're all they're all loosely connected. I don't know how official these things are, and let's not get banned from social media.
My concern is that I look at Portland, Oregon, and the extremism and radicalism that goes on there. And my concern is that might be Melbourne in 5-10 years.
I don't think that long.
Yeah,
I think we saw that.
If you look at those towns, I think some of the major shopping malls and kind of are vacant now because the Walmart and all these kind of shops are leaving. They don't want to have business.
It's complete anarchy and chaos.
And we get a taste of that on the weekend. That's what we saw. That's exactly what we saw. In fact, this screen we're stuck on right now, you can see how welcoming and tolerant. A Jew walking up to an anti-fascist, haven't even said a word yet. And straight away I get, okay, maybe it's not the Roman salute, but it's another form of hateful symbol to a Jew.
Yeah.
I just want to keep pulling my Jew card.
Are you excited to finally have Nazis to protest?
You are.
Why are you calling the only Jew a Nazi?
You are great as shit.
Bang. But you see that union, that he looks like a union thug to me. It's just weird to see that in there. And boom, I just want to point out because I noticed it later because I wondered why it didn't hurt that much, but just Just watch how I blocked like a
slow motion.
legend. My arm. It went over my
Krav
arm.
Maga. Your Krav Maga skills paid off.
Honestly, I had no idea why.
Did you feel it? Did you feel it?
Like I felt it.
I saw it from far away. I had to come here, but I saw
Why were
something
you
happening.
busy running away?
No. I was caught up somewhere else. But yeah, you didn't feel it.
No, it didn't. And I've judged it from a few angles. And it looks like because it was part of a pole that was connected in the middle, and because I kind of blocked it at the and like it was just a reflex, and I blocked it the perfect thing that it kind of broke off the top of the thing, which hit my head. But I'm thick as
There's not much in the head.
there's not
anyway.
much like
There's not
it's
much.
thick.
You should walk around with a helmet.
But we're laughing about it. But like this is kind of not okay. Like this
No,
is
I mean,
totally
look,
not okay.
If we're speaking about, when we see this presented in the media, we see a lot of talk about how it's dangerous, violent, and we're getting these type of language used. But again, we're seeing it here expressed onto a journalist in terms of you being hit with this thing, and there's no mention of it in that fashion.
No, the way it was framed, all the reporting around this was neo-Nazis rallied on the streets. It turned violent. And so, firstly, no mention that a journalist, a reporter, somebody to tell the story, not on either side, however you want to portray that, was attacked violently. This is not like Stan Grant where racism is violence. This is racist. These guys that are pretending to be anti-racist who actually turned violent.
So why is it so hard then for the media to make, or even for our leaders, because they speak about this? We had the Liberal Party, I think
David Southwick.
David
From
Southwick
our own community. I know him.
put out a statement.
I've seen him at many Jewish events.
Right? Putting out these statements, but they don't seem to be able to condemn this very clear act of violence as well. Like, why can't you condemn both? I get it. I get why we condemn the neo-Nazis and what they're doing, but this is the same thing in a different,
And you can argue in this scenario, they were worse. They got physically violent. You're going on about their abhorrent views of the Nazis, which we all agree they have, but towards Jews, well, only one group on that day got violent to Jews, actually attacked Jews. And Southwick, who's from our community, he condemned the Nazis and said that there's no place in Victoria for Nazis, but just ignored that.
Because it's not politically convenient. That's why.
And where was the last time you saw Southwick? I like Southwick on a human level. Like
I've met him when I was campaigning. He's a lovely guy.
His kids are sweet. His family's sweet. Like I actually get on with him. Like on a personal level at Jewish events, he's actually a nice bloke. Guy.
But he's a mainstream politician. I mean, he acts and thinks like a mainstream politician. And
I love how he didn't back Moira. The funny thing is, right, I see him hanging out with all the ultra-Orthodox Jews and, very friendly with them. And he condemns Moira for her views and like, there's no room in it. That's their whole thing that they kicked her out over. Southwick, do you realize like those ultra-Orthodox Jews, that same community you are still a part of where I grew up, they share the same views as Moira. He knows that. So why is it okay for them to have those views but not his?
But you know what? Moira's views aren't even controversial. When she was at that women's rally, what were they advocating for? Spaces for women.
Yes,
in the
but I think when they talk about the broader Christian views,
right,
which those same views are shared by the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community.
That's right.
Okay. So why is it okay for a politician to suck up to like the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community because it's in his electorate, but then to condemn somebody with
you've got to remember that David Southwick, as much as I like the guy, he did condemn the Orthodox Jews during the lockdowns. He came down very hard on them.
No. Did he?
So
no.
Look it up. Yeah. He condemned
for the what happened in the synagogue,
the so-called illegal prayer gatherings when they allowed sporting events.
Is it? And I don't even reckon he believes it. Like I just feel like he does. He says he makes statements for the same reason he made a statement here against Nazis. He's always playing a political card. I don't think he cares.
Look, I mean,
We'll invite him onto the show.
yeah. Will he come on?
Just don't tell him it's with me. No, tell him it's a Jewish event.
Yeah.
And if I'm here and we just have cameras, he'll be fine.
He'll be
But
fine.
he'll be fine.
hiding
As long as he
somewhere.
doesn't know the cameras are out, he'll be cool. He used to be a DJ. He was actually he's actually a nice guy.
DJ Dave.
I-
He's a lovely bloke.
I genuinely like the guy on a human level. I think he's a gutless politician that really ends up standing for nothing. And I'm waiting for the day to
state
prove.
of the Liberal Party.
Yeah, well, he's in the top 3 of the Liberal Party now, but that's his problem. He doesn't actually. I know that. Really, like he would. I think that he is more conservative. He's I guess, an opportunist.
Well, what they did to Maura Dimming, I don't know if David Southwick was involved, but James Newberry and Pasuto and a few others conspired to throw her out.
Well, David Southwick's the top 3, so it's Southwick. What's her name? What's her name?
I don't know. Oh, Corsia.
Yeah, she's so important. We don't even know her name. And John Pasuto, who I still can't believe is still leading.
Well, they're unelectable. They threw her out. I mean, what she was advocating for wasn't controversial. It was just the right for women, for little girls, to be safe and use the bathroom.
And I guess that
Safe
pertains
from
to.
the
I
change
think we might have to call him out for his Nazi views.
No, it makes sense with this particular issue because the Maura Dimming situation arose from this very thing.
Yes.
The inability of our leadership and our media to draw distinctions in what's happening in our society. And I think,
By the way, I want to point out that the AJA, the Australian Jewish Association,
David Adler.
David Adler, they actually backed Maura Dimming. So
Yeah.
it's very important to point out.
Good on him. Yeah, no. David Adler and the Australian Jewish Association, whilst the establishment of the community tries to act like the Australian Jewish Association don't speak for the community, they have just as much right to represent the community as the others. They're just conservative. So it's a conservative Jewish group that an organization to counter the left wing. And when you actually look at the broad Jewish community, when you look at Orthodox Jews, they're generally conservative. So religious practicing Jews, not just cultural Jews like me, heritage Jews. We're talking about religious practicing Jews. They are generally more conservative. So AJA would represent them more than what all the other Jewish organizations.
You know what? They have the largest membership out of all the Jewish organizations, and they've got the largest following on social media. So they have over 30,000 people.
You're really plugging. How much
following.
is David Adler paying you to say this stuff?
But they didn't really.
Comment.
They discounted those views, though. I mean, it wasn't really. It was almost like no one from that community was supporting Moira. I mean, that's the way that it was portrayed. Like
who?
I'm just saying, media. Like he was pretty much. You wouldn't know that the Jewish community was kind of.
They're split.
There's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people in the Jewish community that support Moira.
Okay.
And, the AJA is a
Orthodox Jews for sure.
Yeah.
She literally shares their views.
And even secular traditional Jews. There's a lot of secular traditional Jews, conservative Jews that would support her as well.
We get a bad rap. Our community gets an extremely bad rap because of organizations like the Anti-Defamation League and like these left-wing, all these left-wing organizations that kind of control the narrative, and they're really connected to the mainstream government and David.
So I mean, clearly, Jewish community is not a monolith.
No,
but it's portrayed as such.
Yes.
So I mean, that's what's happening here. I think.
All right, we'll keep watching the violence.
We got him on camera.
Actually got an upside
there we
down
go.
sign.
Anti-Nazis have attacked the only Jew in the crowd. Are you calling me a Nazi?
Yeah, you're a fucking Nazi.
I'm the only Jew here. How can you call a Jew?
You fucking call yourself a Nazi.
I love how they always pull that line. Man. So they're referring to. They always say that I call myself a Nazi, and even like the age and that they love to, once call them. They're referring to a video back in like 2017 or something. I'm standing on the stage in front of thousands of people. Antifa's protesting this crowd from behind, and I'm standing there telling them I'm wearing a kippah on my head, and I turn around and I go, "Don't forget about what they call you. I am the world's proudest Jewish Nazi," like tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
How stupid is that? I grew up in ultra Orthodox community. I still go to Farbrengens. I go to Shabbos. I love my community. I'm the proudest Jew. and they use that line. They always say, he calls himself one.
Unbelievable.
I mean, you messed up with that joke, though.
Look,
I mean, like in hindsight.
I
get it. I get the joke.
In hindsight, it's not even that
a joke.
it wasn't a joke. It was the
play on.
You know what?
Saying what you are. Yes.
In my journey in what I do, I've learned like you got to be really careful about what you say, even in the heat of the moment, because you know you can report something, and this happens in court all the time. Like I've seen, text messages read out, and if you miss the tone, then you miss what's said. It's like you can say things in a tongue-in-cheek or ironic way, or
misconstrued.
and if you just read it flat, it's just he did say, like technically I did say that I'm the world's proudest Jewish Nazi. What did that mean when I said it?
You're obviously making fun of them.
I'm making fun of it, but
the context is important all the time.
Exactly.
Definitely, context is important. But that statement you made,
they all but the thing is, they all know it. They all know exactly.
I know
they know that I'm not.
But if I didn't like you, I would use the same statement. Like that's just you've done it yourself. I have no sympathy.
Do you like me, Rukshan?
No, I do. But a lot of the time
do you like? Like, am I going to get this on the record?
No, because a lot of the time whenever I post anything, people will send me that video and tell me, Rukshan, do you know who this guy is? He called himself a Nazi. So I have had to see that video clip so many times.
I just love that Rukshan has to watch me even in his time off. Like when he's trying to focus on something else.
Fact check.
Yeah.
Even my haters, they're so invested in their hate for me that they make Rukshan rewatch a video. Like that gives me nachas, satisfaction.
Yeah. I don't know what that meant.
Nachas is satisfaction. It's such a like Jewish
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Great pleasure.
Fair enough.
By the end of this, you'll be speaking Yiddish.
Yiddish, yeah. Yes,
like a real Nazi. Do not take that out.
Take that out of context. I'm actually in the frame with you.
Oh, look. Oh, hold on. We got to go back here, and because this is where Benji does it.
How can you call a Jew?
Watch the cameraman, Benji. Oh. What a legend, though. This, like, you don't know in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, the energy, the adrenaline is hectic.
Yes.
And you're being surrounded, and you can see there's hundreds around us that hate us, screaming at us. I've been hit with a pole already. And then this, I don't know, whatever it identifies as, I don't want to misgender it, but runs up from behind.
Takes poor Benji.
Yeah.
Takes a cheap shot at him.
Yeah, like from behind. So he had no idea to know what it was. It's just a thing in black. And he just went straight back. And I saw the internet loved him for it. But let's not talk about it. Give him a big head.
Gang in all black. They're so brave. You're so brave covering your face there.
Get fucked! Go fuck yourself!
Look, these violent thugs.
Why are you so brave like that?
Yeah, walk away, you coward bitch!
Come by
You
yourself.
fucking dog!
Look at that kid. What is that?
The Asian.
Is that Benji's cousin?
Benji. That was just like really weird. Like, look at my face. I laughed at it. It was,
Nazi, I thought.
Well, how come you're out?
they're like, oh no, stop. You sound like an
Go
idiot.
with your hand.
I'll answer your question, bro. Do you know why? Why are you here with a bunch of white people when you're from Yemen and they're anti-immigration and you're an immigrant?
I'm here with an Asian, a black man.
Exactly.
And
Don't you think that's ironic that you're here at an anti-immigration rally when you're?
Do you think I support the Nazis? They hate me. I'm a Nazi. I'm a Jew.
You're anti-working class, mate. That's what you're all about. You're all about smashing up working class organisation.
I like how he pivots. First it's about race, and now you're against working class. As soon as that narrative didn't suit him, he quickly deflects and shifts to another narrative.
Exactly.
I mean, compared to everyone else, this guy is pretty
nice.
clean. He's a pretty clean cut guy.
I know.
He doesn't swear.
He was a union guy. He told me.
He's a union guy. He didn't fit the mold. Like, clearly, there's a difference.
Yeah, no, there was like, you can see there's like a union.
Yeah, so he's got a job.
He's got a job. He's in the unions and that's why he was all about the working, and he said, it annoyed me after when I watch it back. You often watch these things back and you think, oh, I so should have made that point. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were so caring about the working class because were you rallying for the working class when Dan Andrews locked them all out of their jobs?
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that he either wasn't, and if he was, well, he's marching alongside all of those who were marching against the working class who were protesting for their rights.
Funny how the working class only exists at certain times.
Yeah, when it's like all these things. It's like these guys. They only all care about Jews.
Yeah.
When it suits their narrative, they hate Jews. They all look at it. There's a freaking Palestinian flag in the back. You think they know the first thing about Palestine? Yeah. We'll get to that.
That, by the way, that flag has a Nazi history. Palestinian nationalism. I'm going to trigger a lot of people. Historically, there's a Nazi connection. The founder, he was Yasser Arafat's uncle, Haj Amin al-Husseini, was an unapologetic, fanatical Nazi, very close to Hitler, and he spent his war years in Berlin. So he's a very big propagandist for the Nazis, on behalf of the Nazis, for the whole Arab world.
Let's just in case we didn't find enough hypocrisy in all of this, he just gave us another one that we have no idea if it's true.
I'm not really. Yeah.
I don't know that. It's probably is
You can
true.
fact check it. Fact check it. You triggered leftists.
Keep watching.
Look at your friends.
Look at this guy.
Look at your friend.
This guy's come around here to fight. He came around here to fight.
He's security. That's his job.
I saw him punching people.
Because they smashed me with a pole.
I didn't know what they did first.
Help these good. That's what I'm saying to you. That's what all these people are doing.
You call the only Jew here a Nazi?
No.
How
You
can
are
you-
a Nazi. That's what you're all about. That's what the far right's about. It's about smashing up workers organisations.
Where were
You know what I
you
love
at the
about you?
vaccine
You know what I love
mandate
about this? This
protest?
is a protest that I'm hated equally by both
So
groups.
much for the workers.
You,
Yeah, I
I'm
wish
hated by your
I
group
in the
because
moment, but
you say I'm a Nazi. I'm hated by the Nazis.
because it doesn't matter if he was there, which I doubt it, because he's like a union guy. But even if he was there, I'll be like, so why are you marching now with the people that protested them? You want to talk about smashing up the working class? That's the group. But I guarantee he looks at from the way he was talking, I get the feeling like he's part of the union hierarchy. Like he's not like the lower working class.
Yeah.
He
Future
they
ALP leader.
look down. That hierarchy looks down at their own working class that they purport to represent. And we saw that unfold outside the CFMEU.
But again, he was conflating, right? He's conflating multiple things.
Yeah, what does that have to do with it? Even if I am against the working class, how does that make me an actual Nazi?
Yeah.
But he only brought that up after you pointed out that you were
I'm
a
a
Jew.
Jew.
Then he deflected.
Yeah.
We want to be separate from Jews.
That's fine. You do that.
Do you like how we cut it? Like, I want to be
as
separate
a Jew,
from
I
you
want
just
you
to
separate
show-
from me too. So that's fine.
Whoa, that's some common ground.
No, don't.
It was put in there to make that point. Dude. Like the actual
Both
Nazis,
sides,
like say we were.
No, don't pretend you're innocent.
Sorry.
Speak to them later then? Are you going to interview them and
I am. I'm going to do exactly
Hey, look,
what I was
that guy, he's very reasonable, that guy.
This kid,
Yeah.
the one talking.
He seems like a good
yeah,
kid.
yeah,
He doesn't swear. He doesn't get violent.
No,
so
he
that's a
seems like a
start.
good kid.
But
I think he's caught up with the wrong crowd.
yeah. But also he's putting us all at risk not using his mask properly.
That's
a good
actually
point.
true, yes.
Like he's wearing a
That's
mask
actually
because
true.
that's the uniform.
Yeah.
Kind of
But the
defeats the
mask,
purpose.
He's putting the working class in danger.
no, but the mask obviously is annoying him, so he put it out below his chin. So the
No, actually, he's got a water bottle. He's having a drink. That's allowed. You can't
It's not
transmit.
open.
You can't.
Technically, he's not drinking from it though. He's
Okay.
holding it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
We
why
might
you
have
trying
to
to
get- we might
defend
have
Trying to let him off.
We might have to get Brett Sutton on the line and ask.
But it was funny because his point, and he was reasonable, and this other guy, even though he made like, but
other
he-
guy's just deluded.
yeah, but he goes, "Are you going to go talk to the other side?" Like, well, I bet you're not going to. I'm like, dude, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Like,
Yeah, imagine that. Dude, I want to stand for your white people. How many white people did your hero kill?
it's funny, eh? Like the Nazis are like, it's all right, they killed the Jew. They also question the number of Jews and whatever. Like a bunch of that interview, I couldn't really put on.
Yeah.
I couldn't put on because it'll get banned from every.
Yeah. And they were shaming you for it, that you didn't put the full interview on. They were shaming you for not putting the full interview on.
Yeah, and
I
like,
think there's a reason behind it.
no, but I have no like. I'm happy they're sharing it in their own quarter, and I'm happy for people to watch it. Obviously, Nazis think he did really well because they got to tell the Jew what they think, and it's like the most unoriginal arguments you've ever heard. It's like the oldest stuff. These guys think they're so fresh and edgy, and it's like, dude, you're repeating stuff like
Talking points.
points that for 2,000 years people have and you know what they would say back to that, going, yeah, can you see people have been talking about it for 2,000 years, there must be some truth to it. But it's like so boring. But I actually don't mind the conversation, and I think we should be able to have those conversations in public. The problem is that
It gets censored.
if I put it, even though I was mocking them, if I put everything he said, especially like the actual anti-Semitic stuff, they'll pull us down for sharing anti-Semitism, even though I'm arguing with the guy.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what's with both sides? So I mentioned the anti-Semitism with the left, which doesn't get a lot of notice, and that goes all the way back to Karl Marx. Even though Karl Marx was a Jew, he was estranged from his religion, and the guy was anti-Semitic. He made a lot of derogatory references and comments to Jews in his book Das Kapital. But on the flip side, what doesn't get acknowledged on the Nazi side was that Hitler actually hated Christianity. Everyone knows that he hated Jews, but it's not acknowledged he hated Christianity because it reminded him of Judaism.
I didn't know that.
No, I've heard.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In relation to the assaults.
The cops are all right on the day.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank
We've
you.
got it all on camera.
Yep.
A lot of people pointing
We'll
out
have
how
on camera,
decent
no
they were.
dramas. All right, guys.
I'll get the details.
Speculation,
No,
maybe lawsuits
appreciate
work.
it. Thanks.
But they were good.
You're getting royalty service from the police.
Well,
They didn't even check on me. Now, I don't know if that's because I'm brown or not, but they didn't even check on me once. But, they're really checking on
They
you.
were checking. They were really good to me that day.
Like 5-star service.
People probably no. I think I've seen comments. Controlled opposition
Keep
is
your
always
enemies
taken care of.
closer, right? Is that what the cops are doing?
They're just playing you, Avi.
Yeah, they were really decent on the day, and they were, they told us they were checking in on us, and there's a bit of banter with some of them as well, which is a lot better than those days of COVID. I've got to say.
I think it should be their right to protest, and the others, it's just
Even
getting violent
in a
like
second
that.
half.
So things got a little bit hairy there, but thank goodness
Here we go.
we're expecting there was potentially
Daniel.
going to be a problem because of the actors involved. Daniel, how
Love
do
how
you
he
feel that went?
stands.
He's
Look,
very
it got very
professional,
violent.
Daniel.
Was forced to jump in to keep everyone safe when they attacked with
It's just
weapons.
a matter of fact
flagpoles.
about it.
Police
Yeah.
very quickly
just had
arrived,
to
got
do
in
what
the
I
middle,
did. Of
asked
course.
us to move on. For safety concerns, for obvious reasons, like you say, the police
With his
had a
hand,
hard
it's
day
all
today, so we
he-
did move
It was
on.
just a
The good thing
scratch
is
for
police
Oh,
do
yeah.
say that
Yeah, there's
they
many
are going to
teeth
follow
cut.
up with the assaults and the theft of
Yeah, but for Daniel,
equipment.
it's nothing. For the average person,
But
it's
guys,
I'd be
none of
fine.
this is possible without your help. Follow Avi.com. Subscribe to us across all platforms. Sign up to the mailing list so you don't miss these stories.
Have you
But
followed me
also,
across platforms?
No, I haven't.
donate
I've
to Rebel
purposely
News Butter
not done so.
to ensure
Leon,
that
are
we
you
can
gonna be
afford to
anti-Semitic
pay
like him?
people like Daniel for such
Do you
also
follow
follow
you?
you.
Bro.
work. Follow Avi.com. Listen, it's weird that
Are you
people
still kicked off
protesting
Facebook?
Nazis turn on the one Jew here. I find that
Look
a
at his
bit odd.
face.
When you work that out, you come back and let me know, all right?
They
You
know. The
guys,
cops know.
stay safe.
I mean, they know. Like,
And yes, I was kicked off Facebook many years ago for
I remember that.
hate speech.
You haven't been back, have you?
No, Rebel News is on there, but I'm not on there. But Facebook is a dying thing. It's dying with our age. The younger generation aren't there, so it doesn't really matter. But it is ironic that I'm kicked off Facebook for hate speech back in then. I can't even. Do you know I can't even have
a normal profile.
can't have any profile in my name?
Yeah.
Haters can. There are hate accounts in my
I know.
name.
Yeah.
And scammers. There's scammers that are in my name that are tell people that they've won.
Invest in crypto.
Yeah, they got. Oh, they just say. They
Are
just
you
say,
one of the scammers?
Are you one of the scammers? Nah,
Awesome.
isn't it more people that look like you?
Maybe. That's true. We're actually phone calling scammers. Mostly.
Cut.
Safe.
You should shape your beard.
Why?
Because it's like a bit
Speaking
messy
of
down
racism,
here.
this is
You
great.
don't know about different cultures, or do you just think you do?
No, I don't know about different cultures.
You always go around telling people of color what to do, how to
about-
dress. No, I'm asking you.
I want to hear
I
about.
love
Do you
when you
always go
flip
around telling
their,
people of
their
color how
own.
to dress and how to look?
I want to hear about Daniel's breakfast.
Yeah.
That deflection. So the white anti-fascist being called out for his actual
Did you eat the
racism,
yogurt? Did you eat
and
the
he's
yogurt?
deflecting by
Did you-
talking about
did you-
nothing.
Did you?
Listen,
By the
stick
way,
to
I
what
just
you
want
do,
to say
Daniel.
one thing. I remember you got some flack because you accused someone of having a white privilege, but it was unjustified flack from people on the right, on the conservative side. What you were really doing was you were highlighting the hypocrisy of the left.
Of
and
course.
making-
That's
you
what
weren't-
he's
you weren't
doing here too.
disrespecting,
Yeah. Look,
white
I
people.
I
and
don't
Christians.
believe that, white Australians, and I don't believe in all this white privilege woke nonsense. But it's important for the group of people that do espouse these ideas to then point it out to them that they're actually participating in the very thing
That
they say.
Exactly.
And it happens all the
That's
time.
what. That's what.
Turning
That's what you were doing
That's what it's
there.
about.
Talking points against them. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm actually showing them what they say, how ridiculous it is, what they say, what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we point that out. It's never, we should never just give them a free reign over these kind of ideas. if they really want to make that a point in society where they're pointing out white privilege, well, actually, you as a white person doing this to me right now, you're exercising a form of white privilege.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because you're a Nazi, so it's different.
Oh, okay.
They've always got a reason. It's different when they do it.
Yeah.
Racism.
Did you?
And he's
But that's what, like,
deflecting
that's the
by
trick.
doing that.
Is you laugh at it. Like
Listen,
this.
stick to what you do,
Find out
Bear.
what Daniel had for
You're
breakfast.
racism. If you care so much about those causes, aren't you actually hurting? Example is yesterday, just Moira Deeming, who was an ally for that issue.
This is an interesting point.
She ended up getting sacked, kicked out of the Liberal Party. So an ally who was in a position that was able to do something. Not your ally, an ally to the issue, not your ally. You don't have many allies.
All we did was we forced that conversation on the table, and we forced the Liberal Party to denounce its own people.
But you turned the public against an issue that was it was in the mainstream already. You guys hijacked and gate crashed their event.
I disagree.
Nobody supports you. If people supported you, you'd have a lot more than the same group that was here a month ago. Nobody does. Antifa.
I think it's important. Two things there that kind of get missed through all of this is you've got the Nazis said two interesting things. One, they don't like Moira. They don't support Moira. Moira's not an ally.
They should get her off the hook.
That was the charge against her.
These guys don't care about her at all.
They don't like her.
Yeah.
They say she's no good because it's only one tiny issue that they may agree with her. But, you know, like they also eat breakfast. Does that mean breakfast is Nazi? Do you know what I mean? Like, so they don't like
Guilt
it.
by association.
And then on top of that, what was the other thing they said? They said they support the Liberal Party did.
Yeah.
It's good. So the Liberal Party, their actions have been supported by the Nazis.
Yeah, they're playing into their hands. Like these guys are enjoying the fact that they're creating chaos, in our community,
And they're getting
in our
attention.
society, and they're getting attention.
Undeserved attention.
Yeah.
Well, they say that their reasoning. They go they wanted the Liberal Party to kick them out to show people that the Liberal Party is not conservative enough, and there's room now for people to join them. They're recruiting.
Yeah, so
they're using the Liberal Party, not Moira Deeming.
Yeah.
They're using the Liberal Party to recruit. That to me is insane.
Antifa has about 10 times the amount of people dressed very similar.
They're state protected.
Hold on. Many people online think that at least a number of the group, including you, are potential feds. Are you feds?
No, we're not. That's called Fed jacketing. And the purpose of it is when there's a grassroots nationalist
never heard
movement
that
that tries to rise up and recruit and gain popularity and gain people to its cause, all the people that are threatened by its political presence, they accuse anyone further to the right of them as being some sort of side.
They look like
You've
them. That's
essentially
like
done
them
the
in
same
America.
thing yourself when you say that they're state-sponsored, which is the same idea. You're doing exactly the same thing on so many levels. You and them, you look the same to me in every single way almost.
It's funny. So that's the point there is that they say the same about each other. I don't personally think he's a Fed. I don't think I wouldn't know, but I almost 100% sure that there are Feds in that group that have infiltrated them for sure. Like it'd be,
I mean, our agencies wouldn't be doing their job if they hadn't.
If they don't have someone
that
infiltrate
leads.
these groups.
Yeah,
Like you would
that is
think
a minimum.
You would think that they would have the capacity to infiltrate these groups.
although I've seen how incompetent they are. But their focus for years has been this, like, you know, they ignored like jihad groups and they were like always focusing on these groups. They've ignored Antifa, the far left. Like they've had a focus on these groups as, you know, as they've become, as they've risen really from the old, you know, the different groups that they were a few years ago, those anti-Islamic groups, to turn into what they've turned. The cops have been involved from then. So I if I had to put money on it, there's cops. One of the dudes in this photo is a cop.
Or they bought one of them or a couple of them off.
Who
or
knows? But there are
blackmailed them.
cops in there,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's a Fed. But that's just like based on nothing but my gut.
But I mean, Fed jacketing.
Fed
Jacketing. I hadn't heard that term before.
No,
that's something you might actually learn in your induction course as a Fed.
Fair jacketing. So maybe he's a Fed.
Honestly, though, they speak their own language that we don't know, and do you know where they talk this language? Because I started like watching their stuff after they were all trolling like my YouTube, and then I went back to like the links that they were saying, and you see they all talk. They have their own kind of language, and that's the crazy thing. When you send them into the dark, they communicate. That you're not stopping them from from recruiting or communicating or spreading their message.
Yeah.
You're just making it harder, like for us, the rest of the world, the normal everyday Australian, from seeing
to identify them.
or to identify them, to hear what they're saying, to challenge them.
Yeah. But is it a thing where they've decided now to become more visible? Like clearly they're doing this more visibly in a public level. There would have been a time that these groups might have been more underground, but now they've become more visible publicly. And it's been happening for a few years. I know we've seen a few stories of them at the Grampian and always kind of do these public displays. Is there something going on in terms of them wanting to assert themselves on society and challenging society?
We can make assumptions. What we do know is that it's certainly served the interests of Daniel Andrews and even the liberal light faction of the Liberal Party. They played it to their advantage, and they used what happened at the Women's March with the Nazis that infiltrated the Women's March to their advantage, and they were able to sideline the Conservative faction of the Liberal Party. And from Daniel Andrews' perspective, he was able to gain because he basically was able to destroy the opposition, divide the opposition.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, and just on Daniel Andrews as well, during the election, we saw a lot of the talking points always reverts back to they have neo-Nazis on their side. Yeah. They have Nazis on their side. Nazi, this person's a Nazi, this person's spoken to a Nazi. It feels like even if these people are being opportunistic, the government in turn is also being opportunistic.
That's right.
And using that for their own momentum.
To gain more control, to pass legislation, to ban more civil liberties.
Yeah. I think both Dan is using it and the Liberal Party.
Liberal Party's kind of joined the bandwagon of using it as well for whatever weird reason.
They're on a path of self-destruction, the Liberal Party. They're obviously not gaining. It's just one faction with the Liberal Party gaining over another, the left-wing faction over the right-wing. But in reality, no one wins within the Liberal Party because they're unelectable.
No. Yeah, it's true.
Wedding photographer.
This is a good bit because this is the only true thing Antifa said.
To me. In every single way, almost.
Dude, what are you talking about? You're a wedding photographer. Please, do not talk to me.
We just had a guy tell us all about the working class.
See you up there.
Telling me that wedding photographers can't do this kind of work.
So much for the working class.
Below your white privilege.
I think, actually, no, you're right. I got an answer.
But this is like what you were talking about before. It's exactly the same. They're like, where I say to him, you're exerting your white privilege on him. Like, I don't actually believe that. It's literally using their terms, their entire ideology against them.
That's right.
Because they are doing it way worse than what you and I would do.
Of course, yes.
They actually do what they say that we do, but they actually do it really maliciously.
That's right, yeah.
No, I just think I'm better than you two fucking idiots.
You said, yeah, that's fine.
Nothing to do with class or race or any of those things.
You brought up my job. You brought up my job.
Anti-fascist, and then he went straight to making fun of him like the person of colour is below him, the holy white man. Shame on you, you racist bigot. This is the first time I think we're in the same boat. We're hated by both.
Brother from another mother.
I want to know what Daniel's breakfast
I
was.
do. Maybe you don't agree with my principles, but
principles are your bank account.
He doesn't monetize his work, so how is his bank account?
You're the worst, Grifter.
I like you mocked before.
Oh, no, you got me. He's actually a saint and a martyr.
That's right.
You know what the left does? They use taxpayer money to fund their ideology. And other political factions, people on the other side of the politics, don't have access to taxpayer money. So they have to be self-funded, and they're mocking them, mocking other people like yourself, like Avi.
But
self-funding.
It's true. That's we don't hide crowdfunding. In fact, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a crowdfund to get in middle of this clip.
Yeah.
Are you looking at my shirt? Yeah, you can get one of these at rebelstore.com.au. So
never miss an opportunity.
Never miss an opportunity. But that's me, and I own it. I don't care. I'm not ashamed because I don't think it's a bad thing for the reasons that you say. I'm like, we're not funded by anyone but the viewer. But here, he was making that claim against Rukshan, who is literally the only person that I know that up until this point, not one time has crowdfunded anything. Because he has a successful wedding photography business that he's been running this alongside what he's been doing as a passion.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm talking on behalf of him like he's not here.
No, that's true. I mean, I've realized like it doesn't matter. All this accusation of scamming, grifting, all this kind of thing, again, is a form of argument instead of actually meeting you on the actual debate that you're having, they just turn to, well, you're a scammer and a grifter, so we actually don't even have to talk to you because your intentions from the onset are not noble as their intentions are. See, their intentions right now is they believe fighting Nazis and all this kind of stuff, but they don't understand that our intentions might be to expose these extreme elements on both sides, or even the neo-Nazis. So they discount those intentions completely, and they don't want to get into that debate at all, and they'll just call you a scammer and a grifter. And that's what they've been doing for a long time.
Forever.
And I kind of wish that I had been grifting, and because that's the charge that's put against me. I'm just saying, like, from what they're saying, but I didn't engage.
Do you want to share the loot?
Huh? I want to get.
You can get one of these. Actually,
you
he can get one of these shirts. This is.
Yeah.
But I remember you
rebelstore.com. Hey, you got to help.
I'm going to rukshanstore.com.au.
You've already covered this extensively, but there was that segment with the ABC where the ABC actually targeted you for your crowdfunding efforts.
I think it was the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age. I think it was.
But there's nothing worse than stealing taxpayer money to fund your ideology.
They don't see the
under
irony.
the guise of being impartial.
That's
right.
The
biggest slap in the face.
There was an episode on The Project once. Remember where one of the they were running one of our clips, and they went to one of the URL for the campaign, and then they go there and they're like, "Oh," and then there happens to be the store, and then I went back to I think the
ABC store.
Oh, I think she was. I think it was on ABC. It was on
Fran something, right?
Yeah, but ABC have a store as well.
Yeah, and I went to their site. I'm like, there's a store there, you grifters, and you're getting
that they set up on taxpayers' money.
Taxpayer money. Like these people, they have no sense of like self-awareness.
No.
Like I can mock myself. I don't care. I think it's funny when they say half these things. But let's also talk about the issue.
Of course, 100%.
But they won't do that.
No, they don't want to meet people in that debate at all. No.
And they don't realize like how silly it looks after that they just mock the most ridiculous things, especially when so many of the time they do the exact thing that they say that I
100%.
Everything you say is either a lie or racist. So what do you stand for, you racist, bigot, lying sack of Antifa?
Keep the insults coming. That was actually a pretty good flow.
I'm not against Jews leaving the West. I think that's a good strategy.
Do you support Israel then?
Absolutely not.
I see Palestinian flags. That's.
When you say it.
I just like we're going to go to we're showing how similar they are on another issue, but I just find that so funny. It's like you don't want Jews in Australia, so you support Jews having their own land. Surely you want them out. No.
Yeah.
Why? Because we just hate the Jews.
So I wonder what his solution to the Jews is.
I think there is a final solution.
We'll divert a little bit. I have two Jewish men here. I've always wanted to know what is people that don't want the Jewish people to have a homeland, Israel. This kind of what this guy is saying. Where do they want you guys? What do they want you to do?
Well, it depends who.
I asked a rhetorical question. I think I know. I think I know the answer.
Well, what was he's a Hitler lover, so it's pretty easy to know.
For him, yes.
To know, yeah. So, but I think it matters who and why they're against Israel. Like if you look at the Arab world, they just don't want Jews in it. They don't care if Jews are in Europe. They just don't want Jews ruling on what they would consider Islamic land, even though Islam came after Judaism. So that's like a historical fight from so long ago. Who else? Like everybody has their reasons, and it's funny because one of the arguments that Nazis like them make is, why do you think so many countries have kicked the Jews out? So that it obviously means there can't be something wrong with all these people kicking out the Jews. There must be something wrong with the Jews that they need to be kicked out. Now, what's his solution? Like I'm saying, you have a practical solution. Like if you want to kick the Jews out, you kind of need somewhere to put them. Oh, don't worry. We have a final solution the big boss came up with. Didn't work out the first time round, but maybe that's what he's thinking. Like you got to assume that's what he's.
You go, well, what's going on?
This is an interesting one for me because I'm literally at a protest where both sides feel the same way you feel about me, and you make similar arguments.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. So that's the Nazis standing for Palestine at this protest.
Well, as I mentioned before, this is historical. This is by design. It goes back all the way to Haj Amin al-Husseini.
And look, At this same rally, the anti-fascists joined the Free Palestine rally. That's how they finished it. So it wasn't only like I didn't see them join but that's what was reported. They had flags.
Many of the same arguments, especially when it comes to Jews and Zionism and controlling the world.
How is it
You
different?
even dress similar to them. They're all in black, their mask covering their face.
There's 12 types of Jews.
What are? Tell me, you educate me on Jews, please.
So basically, the Jewish organism is a schisming force. For example, why are there Jews against Israel?
According to strict Jewish law.
So here I actually cut you have to watch the full one because he gives his reason, and it was some crazy conspiracy. Like I didn't even know as to why there were Jews against Israel in his reasoning. And I was like, dude, you just don't know the Jewish community at all. You have no idea. You've come up with, or you've learnt this conspiracy theory where it's actually really simple as to why, which is the reason I give here, is because they come from a sect that believes a certain thing, but they're a minority. But I cut out his conspiracy theory, one, because I think that it was just too long, and two, because I'm scared.
Yeah.
But it was just a crazy conspiracy.
The people of Israel, the Jews, shouldn't be ruling autonomously on the state of Israel without the Messiah. The Messiah has to come first.
You see his head? He's like,
Who's the Messiah?
So
you could see his eyes. He got educated.
That's why they're saying that they can't be there. That's why. That's the entire argument. And now, do you have a spectrum? Hold on, let me educate you there. There's a spectrum of those ultra orthodox. There are those like the ones that march with the terrorists, and then there are those that believe that that the Jews shouldn't be there, but we shouldn't side with the enemy. And then there's all the other Jews, the majority, where they believe no, we need a state, because when people like what you believe actually became popular, unlike this tiny sad excuse for a minority, when it actually became a popular, and it has happened several times in history, they believe we need a place, one state in the entire world where Jews are safe.
So you're saying when Hitler comes back, then you need an Israel?
You should agree with that. You want all the Jews out, so perfect. They've got a safe place. So why are you against Israel?
I'll chat to you later. Avi, you got a phone to pick with you.
But going back to the explanation, I think I don't know if the average person understands what I was saying there. And the sect you come from is a sect, or the sect that you're a part of. I don't know. We call it sect. I think sect has a negative connotation. It's the movement, the Chabad movement. They're not Zionists, but they're also
supportive.
They support the state of Israel, because I think the rebel was supportive of the state of Israel. But that sect that they're talking about, which is the
Neturei
Karta,
right.
they're such a tiny minority of Jews, and they don't hate the state of Israel for one, the reason that he gave, which was just batshit crazy. It is just a religious interpretation, a fundamentalist religious interpretation. They don't even hate the state of Israel for the reason that the people they rally with hate Israel. Because according to their belief is one day the Jews will be there. It's just when the Messiah comes. We just can't, according to Jewish law, be ruling over ourselves there, so we should be under the Palestinians.
Many other ultra-Orthodox Jews share a similar view, but this particular group, the Neturei Karta, take it too far. They literally side with the terrorists. So what they're doing is beyond the pale.
The other ones that share their view in theory, as in
that's right.
They share the religious view that Jews should not be ruling.
But they don't collaborate with Hamas, and that's what these guys. That's what they do.
But they also don't argue on historically the Jews were there, or it was the land of the Jews back in the biblical times, or the Jews were kicked out, or any of the history, the factual history. It's literally an argument on interpretation of text of Jewish, like old religious text. So it's to me, it's funny to see, because also when these people, when they do their like anti-Semitic memes or whatever, when you see the Nazi ones from back in the 30s they were always depicting like Jews,
Orthodox Jews,
ultra Orthodox Jews, which themselves, like they talk about, everything is for Israel and we're doing things for the Israel. And then they'll have like a character of an ultra Orthodox Jew who, by the way, he would be anti-Zionist. He would be anti-Israel himself. Do you understand? Like, it's
I
funny
understand,
when you actually know the Jewish community and you realize that there is no one single view.
Yeah.
And even on something as important as Israel, for the one Jewish state, for the one, you know, one of the most persecuted, if not the most persecuted people in history, the one little Jewish state, not everybody from the community agrees on it for different reasons.
So are these discussions happening amongst the Jewish community?
For sure. There's
Like-
the whole discussion of Israel is always...
There's a saying in the Jewish community: 2 Jews, 3 opinions. All we that's all what we do. We love to argue and debate.
Yeah, they're having like, I'm Yemenite Jew, right? Like my mum's side, and they say you've got to. So my family, where they live, is like 4 blocks each way are all my cousins in Kfar Saba in Israel, in an area, and they have in the center is like the courtyard where the synagogues are. So there's 4 synagogues, but everyone's family, like, why do you need 4 synagogues? You need like the one, and they're all the synagogues are family, so they're all related. And they go, you need one that you go to, one that you definitely don't go to. Like but that's the way it is. Like, it's like everybody has a strong opinion. Imagine that. A community that I come from, everybody holds strong opinions.
See you later. Avi, you got a phone to pick with
Oh,
you.
this
mate.
guy.
I got so much
He
shit
was
from the last time you bloody put me on. Called me an actor. It was bloody funny. It was good.
I can't remember.
But mate, I got that much shit from it. Like, everyone's just up going, you know, hey, Holmes, you're an actor, you're an actor, you're an actor.
All the boys.
Ah, that's just dedication to it, mate.
You deserve every bit of it.
Time to join home and away. I just say, next time I see you,
Mate.
I hope they don't get reprimanded
I
for
know,
being too nice to you.
Poor guy, man. I feel bad for him.
He's
because
the inspector. He was like running the show the other day. But like, you know what? It's funny because when I uploaded this as a reel, like, like I jokingly called it like police officer confront, and like the comment. Well, not even clickbait. Like, I was joking. He is confronting me, but he was being it was banter. Yeah, it was banter, and he was having a laugh with me. He was a good guy.
Yeah.
I like him. I think we need more of that. And like, people, the comments are like, chill out, he's just having a laugh. I'm like, dude, I'm having a laugh. Can you chill out? People take things literal, but no, I thought police on the day were really, like, they were warm, they were nice to me, they were, and then when it kicked off, they had my back. You know what I mean? They were everything I would have wanted through COVID.
You don't work for the feds.
Yeah, this is controlled opposition.
No, honestly, stop winking at the Jew. Honestly, I think suing them for their bad behavior through COVID changed it, because even before COVID, towards, you know, end of 2019, when I was going to do what I was doing here at a lot of especially the left wing protests where Antifa would get violent instantly, police would arrest me for my safety. That's what they did. And they would say,
isn't that ironic? Like 6 months later, they put millions of people under house arrest for their safety.
Everybody got a taste of, and then when we sued them, and they admitted and apologized, you know, in the words of the report, you know, Avi Yemini, we unlawfully arrested him for while reporting for Rebel News. Now I get the red carpet. They're completely different, and that's why you have to stand up for yourself and speak truth to power, and then carry on and carry through with the threat, because otherwise they just walk all over you. And we've seen that. You were there at all those protests.
I've seen that. Definitely the police behavior now in terms of how they're managing these protests is a lot better. I think, again, on the police behavior, we're seeing issues, though, people raising the issue that they're not confronting the Nazis. No. I think a lot of the community assume that because there's these Nazis there, the police are going to go there and, you know, beat their heads in and arrest them or whatever.
But what do you want them to do?
No, they can't do that because there's no laws are being broken at that present time.
And I don't want laws. Like, I think just ignore them and let them.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I mean, are you? Do you think the police should take more action when these things are happening?
Well, with the situation, with the Nazi situation, it appears that they were just being on their best behavior. They're on guard.
But let's talk about like the what was it for the women's rally, the Let Women Speak rally, because I think it came. You could see it. Police were not only like allowing them to do what they were doing; they were actually helping them march through.
Something weird.
That was weird.
That was like, I was there, and that was really weird because
they also turned on the trans activists.
Yeah, when I first got there, the police had actually cordoned everyone off. They had made a conscious decision that all these groups are separate.
Yeah,
and the Nazis and the women's rights rally.
So they separated the Nazis from the women.
Everything was separate because I couldn't go at one point to the women's rights rally side because the police had cordoned that area off and they'd cordoned the Nazis off. But there was something that happened where I think, from my interpretation, the Nazis may have negotiated with the police to say that we just want to go take this photo on the steps or do whatever it is, and then we'll leave. And I personally believe the police allowed them to do that, to take their photo, to do that, because they wanted them out of that space. And then they ushered them out. So from a policing perspective, it looks like the police wanted to de-escalate the environment and get them out of there if they were going to leave that. And for them, I think the bargaining chip was to allow them to get close, to get whatever they wanted to do there, that photo on the steps or whatever, and let them go. So that photo that we see, my impression is the police allowed that to happen.
And I think in that case, they shouldn't have.
No, they shouldn't have let them. They shouldn't have let them get to the coast of the women's protest.
They should let them. They can protest. They can do their stupid whatever. Like, I am not one of those people, and I know in my community there are some that stand strongly against me, and they come from a good place. But I think that a lot of the time our community is way too sensitive in a way that will come back and bite us one day. Because, today you can designate, and it is a hate symbol, but everybody knows it's hate. Everybody knows the Nazi symbol is a hate symbol. Everybody knows the Roman salute is a hate symbol. So let the idiot do it, and then we know who our enemy is. He's right in front of us. But if you let them ban all these symbols, what do you think's going to happen when, they designate the Israeli flag as a hate symbol?
Exactly.
They go and that's where
It's
we're
a
going
slippery
to
slope.
That's where we're going to get to, because those same leftists, all those leftists there, anyone there that rally, and all those people, they'll say that Israel's flag is a hate symbol.
Yeah.
Whatever Daniel Andrews does, he doesn't do it out of the kindness of his heart. He's not an ethical person. He's not a moral person. That's very clear.
It's not only Daniel Andrews.
There's an ulterior motive.
And
it's not only Daniel Andrews.
Definitely, we have to find that balance, because I think it's laughable for us to think that just by getting rid of these symbols and these gestures, that these groups just go away then. They find ways around it.
Well, they become more radicalized.
It emboldens them even more.
Exactly.
So it can also have a reverse effect, because they're acting like everyone around in the city is going around making these gestures and symbols. They're not. It's this small group. We know who they are.
But like you said before, you're starting to notice them more than ever.
Yeah.
They weren't here before.
No.
They're suddenly here when you're banning everything.
Well, I look, my suspicion is any major protest now in Melbourne, this group is going to come, because they now know that they actually have a type of power. And we might not like them having that power, but they've actually been given that power by these politicians, by the media, and by the police, who have, really just not been able to deal with them in the manner, like you said, maybe ignoring some aspects of what they're doing, not giving them that weight in the sense of connecting them to the issues that they have nothing to do with. For instance, we're saying that these people are also there because of supporting women's rights. They're not for women's rights, but we're conflating these issues and giving them power with this. So, look, I definitely think we're going to see them more and more. And I don't know how that's going to end up, because we're going to see the other groups come more and more. And it's going to be a very complex situation going forward.
And banning anything is not going to work.
No, banning them is
It never does. It backfires.
No.
It's a safe public space where you can't get me.
Our position on war is no more brothers' wars. We don't want white men fighting and dying.
Are you going to tell your Azov brothers to put their arms down?
No, they're fighting for national sovereignty. I'm not going to tell them to do that. Absolutely not.
They're killing other white people.
They are defending their land. Putin.
So you support the Ukrainians?
I support any.
Why do all Nazis support the Ukrainians?
They're protecting their national sovereignty.
It's good to see that they're putting.
So that's a good war. White
Well,
people
are you
kill white
Ukraine?
people.
What's
That's
your?
Well, my background, I am from the Ukraine. I was born in the Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh, so Ukrainian.
So my father knows a lot about the Nazism that's rife in there.
In Ukraine. We don't even need to get into that. But how funny is that? How funny is that? And
He
why
switches
do
the
we
goalposts.
and why do we keep seeing that? Why do we see that? I'm not saying Putin's the good guy, but a point that I'm noticing here is Nazis tend to, around the world, these neo-Nazis group, they sympathize with Ukraine.
Which is ironic because one, Hitler hated the Slavic people. But the reason why the Ukrainians historically aligned themselves to the Nazis is because they saw them as liberators from the Soviets. Because Stalin was the badder person to them at the time. And they hated the Russians. So their hatred for the Russians put them into the Nazi camp. And the Nazis despised them. There was a guy, a nationalist called Stefan Bandera, who was a pro-Nazi. And during the war, at the start of the war, the Nazis used him as a puppet. But then for most of the war, they threw him into a prison in Berlin. And then towards the end of the war, they took him out again for propaganda purposes. But that gets lost on a lot of Ukrainian nationalists.
It's funny, this guy,
He knows a lot.
he knows a lot, or he knows how to make up a lot.
He's very
Fact checkers.
He's very
There's going to be a lot of
He's very
triggered
convincing, but
fact checkers out there.
But it is it is a funny point that the the allegation that the far right is pro-Russia, right? That's what they always say, because
that's one of the weirdest allegations.
It's one of the weirdest allegations. Like anyone that questions the war or questions Zelensky, even if they don't like Putin, even if they condemn the invasion, but if they question anything, suddenly you're a far right. You're pro-Russian. You're far right. And it's like the actual far right, they full support the war.
But before Trump, pro-Russian was conflated always with the left traditionally during the Cold War, right up until Trump changed things. All of a sudden, being pro-Russian became a right-wing thing.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I noticed the difference as well.
It's good to see that they're putting safety first. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 masks between them. Good on them. Why don't you wear another? Why don't you put another mask on? You're putting us all at risk.
Why don't you fuck off?
I'm right here. You're the one that walked to me.
Why don't you fuck off?
So how does it feel knowing that your group attacked the only Jew here?
Where are you
from?
I'm.
Fuck off.
What are you laughing at?
Just escalates.
It just has. It's like walk up to me, then tell me to piss off, and the irony is, like, if you read the sign in a second, it says like refugees welcome here. And the group walked up to me and told me to fuck off.
They saw it in your video. You didn't put it in there.
What?
But they also told me to fuck off.
Yeah, but no one cares about
Wow.
it. Yeah. Are you a refugee?
I'm not a refugee, but I'm just saying. And then they were calling
How
me.
do they know? They don't know you're a
They don't
refugee.
know
You should
that.
just say you are.
But they told me to F off. And then they were calling me, they weren't even using my actual name. They were calling me Rukshan.
Right.
They misnamed me.
misnamed you.
I should be offended by something, right? They misnamed
They
me.
misnamed you, but it's just all ironic that they're doing all of that, condemning the two. I don't think any of them are people.
And on top of that, she's not observing social distancing.
Oh no, social
That's the main issue.
And then she claims that this is the claim that I heard a few times in the day. She goes, I'm a Jewish. I'm a Jewish. I don't think a Jewish person would go, I'm a Jewish. She goes, I'm a Jewish, so you should fuck off. They
appropriate anything.
Appropriate anything. Yeah, that's right. She's appropriating my religion.
Fuck off.
Where are you from?
Where the fuck are you from?
Why are you?
Fuck off.
Wear another mask.
Fuck off.
You look like the Nazis the way you're dressed. You look exactly like the Nazis.
She did. Hold on. You tell me now that this. Where is she? Where is she coming?
You look like the Nazis the way you're dressed.
Look, that's exactly the same.
She looks like a little anime character.
Oh, there we go. I got it. And she's even got half the Roman salute happening. And
No social distancing.
Don't touch.
Really? You're going to do that in front of Daniel?
Yeah, bit of reality there.
There you go.
Would have woken them up.
Police.
People act differently when they're in large crowds, when they're with their friends.
They're all like that.
They wouldn't do that if they were by themselves or with another person.
Oh, there you go. Refugees. Well,
yeah, Nazis are not. No borders, no nations.
No borders, no nations.
It's all over the place.
So, but what are we,
where are refugees welcomed if there's no borders? No
and where are we welcome to? I got to fuck off. But where do I go if I'm not welcome here and there's no borders? She sounds very similar to the Nazis. They just want us not to go to Israel, but they want us.
Police now dispersing what's left of the tolerant left and the small group of neo-Nazis. What we've learnt here today is that both groups, similar views, think that the other is the enemy, but in fact, both are the enemy of our state. And both are only coming to prominence because of each other. We've got to cut out the noise and fight for victory. Avi Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia.
There we go. I think that
Well said.
sums it up.
Yeah,
What do you reckon?
Good way to end. Nice final statement.
What about your final statement? What did you learn from it all?
What I learned is that they're two, as I said before, these are two sides of the same coin. Really, there's only one winner that benefits from it, and that's the establishment. So it's a classic divide and conquer strategy. They want to divide people, and it's easier to control the masses when they're divided.
No, I agree, definitely. I feel like I can't see the difference between these two groups. And for me, I just see them both equally as crazy. Obviously, I know one side, instinctively, I know that side is bad. They don't need to be doing anything. I just know from what they represent that they're bad. But the other side, I'm seeing from the actual behavior in public, that's also a problem. And it's even a bigger problem because we seem to acknowledge only one side of this problem. So the actual one group is put under the spotlight, rightly so, rightly condemned. The other group, everything is under the carpet, everything is ignored, and it keeps escalating and escalating. And I think both groups are bad for society. And there is a argument to be made that mainstream Australians, reasonable Australians, everyday Australians can tell the difference. And I think the establishment, the media, they're worried about showing people that there is this other group as well. And, we need to make that more visible. As much as the Nazis are making themselves visible, I think it's important that we also make the other side who are behaving in this manner visible as well.
Well said. That's it. Thanks for
having me on your second podcast.
Yeah.
And this is 142 episode. Thank you for joining us on the Divide and Conquer, the opposition.
The opposition, because there is no other opposition in our state.
But we're just talking about Divide and Conquer. I'm thinking, we're talking about dividing with the opposition.
Is that the name of your podcast?
The opposition podcast.
The opposition.
We're joining the whole Divide and Conquer. We were going to call ourselves controlled opposition, but the
Nazis going to trigger a lot of people.
The Nazis from both sides were going to run with it. Thanks, guys. If you want to watch the full video uninterrupted without the bad commentary from Rukshan, you can check it out at rebelnews.com.au or on our YouTube. Check out all our social media and give us all follows. Yeah, Rukshan's looking a bit sad. How many followers do you have on Twitter?
I think
charity, guys. I believe in charity. Head over to Rukshan's Twitter.
At the Real Rukshan, guys. You can find me on Facebook,
everywhere.
YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Rumble, at the Real Rukshan.
He needs it.